And welcome in, everyone. Welcome to another episode, another edition, and the best edition of the Dynasty Force podcast, brought to you by myself, Robert Mantuano, and my co host today, Billy Brisbane at Getting Bills on Twitter. How's your day going, Billy? This Wednesday night before kickoff. I'm so excited. How about you?
Yeah, man, I'm pretty excited, man. NFL is really the bread and butter of all things for me. So it's glad to get back to basically the daily day job of grinding out some Roto World stuff and getting ready for the weekend for lineups and stuff like that. Coming off a really good night of Tuesday night Dana White Contender Series last night. I posted my free picks over on Twitter at Getting Bills, and my parlay hit and my underdog hit. So we had a clean sweep on the Contender Series plays. I saw a lot of people had a splash night on a Tuesday, so I'm looking to roll that over into the NFL Week 1 season as well.
Yeah, dude, congrats on that. I mean, we are. I don't want to spoil too much for you, but yesterday, was it that you posted your Thursday night showdown
Yes,
DFS lineup? Yeah. You want to talk about that one a little, where they can find it?
Yeah, you can find that over at Pub Sports Radio on YouTube. That's the affiliate that I have for my fantasy football and daily fantasy stuff. I got some videos coming out later this week for DraftKings and FanDuel talking about cash game and GPP builds. And then I have an article also coming out for the forecasters this week talking about how to win $1 million on DraftKings this weekend, baby.
That's what we all want to do, right? I mean, like, you put in $20, you somehow turn that into $1 million. I mean, that's the point of us being here, right?
Yeah.
About our socials, just in general, you can find Billy, as I said, at getting_bills_. We're just simply getting bills, and Billy is going to keep you up to date on that DFS, those stacks, the lineups, the videos that he's going to be posting. You can find it all there. So if you want to win some money without doing work, which that's the American dream, follow Billy on Twitter. Follow me at FantasyForceFB. Follow me on Twitter at FantasyForceFB. I recently posted today an article and a long Twitter thread of a matchup breakdown for this week. So, that's not something we're necessarily going to cover this episode. If you want an in-depth breakdown of each matchup, you can head over to my Twitter. It's in my recent tweets. Actually, I'm going to go pin that right now for you all. But yeah, it's a recent tweet where the main tweet has a link to an article where I have an in-depth breakdown on each matchup. And then if you want just a short, quick-hitting, easy-to-find version, you can check it out on Twitter. It's a thread following that tweet. Besides that, I'm keeping you posted on injuries to the best of our availability, other information that we can come up with. So, before we head into the news and everything else that we will be talking about today, Billy, let's head into a little icebreaker here and talk about our favorite fantasy squads heading into the 2020 year. Our own fantasy squads, either Dynasty or Redraft. Billy, you want to lead us off here?
Yeah, I was a little bit confused when you asked that question, but are we talking about like actual teams or teams that we drafted ourselves?
Teams that we drafted ourselves.
Oh, well, my favorite team would probably be my home league, because my home Dynasty League team, I ended up trading back and getting Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Josh Jacobs. I have Allen Robinson, Marquise Brown, Zach Ertz, Kenyon Drake, Marvin Jones. Like I feel like I got all the guys like that
Right.
I really like. Currently looking for a flex spot. I actually have Duke Johnson in my flex for week 1. We'll talk about that a little bit getting into this week. But how about you?
So for me, it's a recent league. It's actually a league that you and I are both in, but the title is Quarantine Crazy. It's more so like our home league here with our own personal friends. It's not a home league necessarily because the guys in it actually know what they're doing, but I feel like I ended up pretty well. It's a 10-team league, so you obviously have to adjust expectations, but 3 wide receivers, 1 flex, 1 super flex. I ended up with Deshaun Watson, Dalvin Cook, Joe Mixon, Calvin Ridley, Robert Woods, Hollywood Brown, Travis Kelce, James Conner, Drew Brees, and the Steelers defense. So I feel like that's a really stacked lineup. I didn't draft Dalvin Cook, but I recently paid up for him, got him with 2 firsts, I believe. So I also traded Antonio Gibson to get Dalvin Cook. I didn't ask for your thoughts on that before, but now that I mention it, I'm kind of interested. So the official trade for anyone listening was on my end. I sent Antonio Gibson, Christian Kirk, a first in 2021, a first in 2022, and swap rights to my first in 2023, which is just like kind of extensive. Like you have to keep track of that off of any app. I don't know of an app that actually allows you to trade swap rights. But I received back Dalvin Cook, Deshaun Jackson, a third and a second. What are your thoughts on that sort of trade? Obviously, you know, like it kind of works for each team because he's rebuilding and I'm trying to contend.
I like the players in the trade, but I felt like giving away 2 firsts, no matter what year it is, you don't know who those first round picks are going to be.
Yeah, I feel that. And even if I'm, you know, a contender, say I win the championship, they're going to be the 10th overall pick. So it's not going to be like, you know, so far down and out of range. They're going to be good picks regardless. So I agree with that part. You know, he was getting a lot of heat for it being a bad deal, but I think it's going to work out one way or another for him too. All right, heading into one of the main segments. We have a few different main segments of the show. We're going to have predictions, MVP, Super Bowl. We're going to talk about some betting odds. We're going to be talking about some players that we like for the weekend. We're going to be talking news. We're going to be talking notes. We're going to end it with a little Survivor Series segment where we're going to, you know, throughout the entire season, Bill and I will face off in Survivor. We're going to have to pick a team to win each week. We can't pick, you know, the same team twice, so we'll keep track of that. And yeah, if they win, we get a point in our favor. If they lose, then we'll get a point against us. And whoever loses, we're gonna have to absorb some sort of public form of punishment. We haven't decided that, but we'll get there. And you know, you'll see it. You'll see it live. So anyway, back to NFL 2020 predictions. Let's lead off with someone you think can win the MVP award. Not can win, but will win the MVP award in 2020. You have to make a pick right now, Bill. Who's it going to
be? Who won it last year?
Lamar Jackson.
Lamar. I think this year's going to get a patty then.
Patty.
Yeah.
It's a kind of a chalk pick because a lot of people will gladly pick Lamar or Pat Mahomes or Lamar Jackson. They're going to be the 2 chalk picks for the year. But I mean, he's so talented. He's on the best offense in football, and he is that team. So it would be great. I actually think Deshaun Watson could win it. Not in the sense of like, to me, if the Houston Texans do anything like what they did last year when they traded away to DeAndre Hopkins and only really picked up, I mean, they traded a second for Brandon Cooks, so essentially traded DeAndre Hopkins for Brandon Cooks and David Johnson. Like if Deshaun Watson can have a stellar season and lead the Texans to the divisional title, I think there's a very real chance that he leads or that he becomes the MVP for the season. Just recently became the second highest paid quarterback in football behind only Pat Mahomes, who you picked. So I mean, not to say that Deshaun Watson hasn't earned it, but let's see him actually earn it. You know. I did not mention this to start the show, but heading into the week one of the NFL season, and for all future weeks, if you have any start sit questions, Billy and I will gladly answer them. So if you are, sitting on YouTube, you're sitting on Twitter, wherever you are, Billy and I are here to help you one way or another, no matter the content we're bringing. So we are happy to answer your questions. So just drop the comment. We will be here to help. Now, in the meantime, Billy, give me your Super Bowl picks. Do you have any preseason bets on anyone? And if you don't, I mean, I'm ashamed of you, but at the same time, who would you kind of expect to make to the Super Bowl this year?
I don't have any future bets for NFL because of the whole entire coronavirus thing. So I'm a little bit scared off of that. But if I had to pick my Super Bowl prediction without giving like crazy amount of in-depth thought into it, I'm gonna have to say the Saints and the Chiefs.
I was gonna say, if you pick Pat Mahomes to be your MVP and you don't pick the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, then I mean that's kind of disrespectful to the man.
Yeah, I just felt like it was a chalky 2 picks, but that's not stuff I really get into, is Super Bowl betting and stuff like that.
I got you. I actually, I believe it's $20. Or it's either 20 or 10. Either way, I have some money on the Pittsburgh Steelers to win the Super Bowl this year. I think they were plus 2,500 odds, so that's pretty good. And I really think among the teams that were listed among them, like Denver was kind of in that range, Indianapolis, I think. So to me, it was kind of like Pittsburgh and then everyone else, and I kind of thought they were a value at the price that I was kind of getting back. So the defense will carry them, and Ben won't have to do much. Ben's still a good quarterback, and they have enough on offense to get it done. But I really think it's going to be about the defense. So if I had to pick a Super Bowl matchup right now, I was on the side of Pittsburgh against New Orleans. But don't sleep on Tampa Bay over there, because Tom Brady and Gronk, the connection that Billy, you're in love with. So
yeah, but we'll talk about that later on in the show. Future bet of the Saints might be in the cards for this upcoming weekend.
We'll have to see it. All right, let's head into some news and notes real quick. Something we did not get to talk about, kind of, boiled over since then, but Adrian Peterson was cut by Washington. He signed with the Detroit Lions. Antonio Gibson, who you see on the screen, is now the guy in Washington. You wouldn't know it by the depth chart, but don't pay any mind to that, because it won't take long for Antonio Gibson to beat out J.D. McKissick. So what are your thoughts on Antonio Gibson this season? What kind of upside do you see for him? I know Washington isn't the best offense to be on, but he's a great player regardless.
I think that Washington is struggling right now by just having pass catching options besides Terry McLaurin. Like, I like Steven Sims Jr., and I feel like Antonio Gibson, that's really where he can contribute for this team, because he played wide receiver in college. He just started playing running back.
Right.
A little bit of a gadget type of guy, but now he's trying to get a career being a running back. But I think early and often in the beginning of the season, you will see him in the passing game and stuff like that. For my video, I will talk about for a lot about Antonio Gibson because he's kind of like the free square for week 1. And even though he's not listed as the starter on the depth chart, I think that Washington is so depleted in the receiving department that they're going to have to use him.
Yeah, I like that. And if you saw the quotes from Adrian Peterson once he was cut, he basically said that Antonio Gibson was just so good, and they want him on the field all the time. They want one main guy, and they want that guy to be Gibson. So I just don't think it's going to take very long. It could very well happen in this game that Antonio Gibson takes over as the main back. My one question with that would be, he's going up against Philly, who has a pretty good front. So how confident would you be in his success against that defense?
I don't think that's really the problem. I think it's the other way around. I feel like the Redskins' pressure on our offensive line is going to be very problematic for week 1 because we have a lot of moving pieces on our offensive line right now. And that's the one thing that the Redskins do very well is pass rush. So I feel like Antonio Gibson, regardless of the game script, he's definitely going to be on the field. And I feel like you got to start him if you drafted him. And then for daily fantasy, like I said before, he's like one of the free squares this week at his cheap pricing.
Yeah, because the pricing gets released decently early. For those of you who don't know, as far as daily fantasy, at least on most of the platforms that I've seen, if not all of them, they release pricing a few weeks, if not more, in advance to kind of build hype for the season. They don't really adjust it. So like Antonio Gibson's pricing may have even come out when Darius Geis was still a member of the Washington football team. So
yes, you would be correct.
Yeah. So real quick on Detroit, Adrian Peterson kind of kills all that value there. No, like that's my thoughts on it.
Not really. I wasn't really too interested in the backfield anyway. But if I had to pick one guy, it would definitely be DeAndre Swift. And I just felt like this was just like a depth piece because of his injury news is kind of a little bit weird to be following these last couple of weeks. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with the injury news part. But the way they kind of signed Peterson was by guaranteeing him work. So for me, that's kind of concerning. I think DeAndre Swift will eventually rise to the top because he is the best running back on this team. But how long is it going to take? You know, like it's going to be a while, and I still think Kerryon Johnson is going to be involved a little bit. So personally, I would prefer to stay away from this backfield. But yeah, I mean, if we're talking Dynasty, I still like DeAndre Swift. I believe Kerryon Johnson's a free agent after this season. I know Adrian Peterson will be. So Swift, this season may not be great, but his long-term outlook still is pretty good. Moving on here, DeAndre Hopkins got an extra 2 years added to his already 3-year deal, and the 2 years were for $54.5 million. So at about 20, off the top of my head, $23 million a year. No, $27 million a year for DeAndre Hopkins. That's an insane amount of money for a guy who's not a quarterback. But this is essentially saying he's going to retire a Cardinal, not because he's that old, but like by the time he's 33, that's when he would hit the market again. And you've seen what Arizona has done with Larry Fitzgerald, and they've kind of kept him. So the long-term commitment for DeAndre Hopkins is great, and you're tying him here with Kyler Murray.
Yeah, like you said it right there, Kyler Murray. I feel like this is just an investment into the quarterback. Take advantage of your quarterback being on a rookie deal and splash some of your skill position players, and that's the main position that you really need to really excel and win that division this year is to have DeAndre Hopkins and Kyler Murray on the same page and being just dynamic.
Yeah, definitely. And we know they can be. And I do not have a slide of it, but we mentioned it quickly with Deshaun Watson being paid $40 million a year over the next 4 years, which I believe is a good deal on both ends as well. A little bit of injury news here. Jalen Reagor actually practiced in full on Wednesday. He might suit up for week 1. He was kind of, so it's like a partially torn labrum, ? For Jalen Reagor. It wasn't technically completely stated what his injury was, but the timeline is kind of iffy for me as far as this week. Like, I'm not necessarily confident. It's a great matchup against Washington. Their quarterback group is kind of nothing. So I feel like only in the deepest of leagues you would play Jalen Reagor week 1. Do you agree with that? Even with like all the kind of, no Alshon Jeffrey and after Jalen Reagor.
I would not play Jalen Reagor week 1 because being a rookie, it's not like he already has familiarity with the offense and stuff like that. I can definitely see a situation where we ease him into the offense a little bit. We already have Deshaun Jackson, J.J. Arcega's in his second year, and then we already have Greg Ward coming out the slot. I feel like Zach Ertz will be leaned on a lot, and I just don't really want to play Reagor week 1. I just kind of want to see it first before I play him.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. And that's one of the main reasons that I've been drafting Zach Ertz everywhere, because having that, he's going to have a huge workload, and you're getting him for a much cheaper price than you've had to pay in recent years by a whole round and a half, honestly. So, moving on here, Mike Evans is dealing with a hamstring injury. He's expected to be a game-time decision for week 1 against New Orleans. It's a 4:25 game too, so it's not something that's great. It's not good. It's not good news. Mike Evans was someone that a lot of people were projecting as a bust. Billy, I think you had him a little lower in your rankings too. I still had him as a top 10 receiver because I believe in the talent and I believe in the opportunity, but I'm not sure about this. Can you kind of give me an opinion? Like, would you, if you were the Mike Evans owner, say your best bench wide receiver was Deontay Johnson, right? Deontay Johnson going up against New York. That's a pretty good matchup. Would you just say, okay, I'm going to bench Mike Evans and play Deontay Johnson? Well, that kind of doesn't work because that's Monday. But
yeah, you took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say that's a bad example because in a situation like this, you want to put that player in the flex position.
Yeah. Because
it's a 4:25 game, so you have more flexibility and options to switch out closer to that time. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely. Yeah, like you said, a bad example from that one. All right, Deshaun Jackson, let's say. He's your next best wide receiver. You can either put Deshaun Jackson in, or you can kind of go pick up Scotty Miller / Justin Watson, whoever you kind of want to hope for. And so in that situation, would you play Deshaun Jackson, or would you wait, hope for Mike Evans to play, and if he doesn't play one of the guys you kind of got to pick up if he's out?
I would kind of try to follow the injury reports, and if Mike Evans isn't fully practicing by Friday, which is kind of like the walkthrough day, then yeah, I would probably play Deshaun Jackson, who's in a pretty good matchup within himself. And then for the other, I feel like Mike Evans is already in a good spot, but so it's pretty hard. If you did put him on your bench, this would be a good game to start him for. But I would definitely follow the injury reports. Make sure you have your Roto Grinders. I mean, not your Roto Grinders, your Roto World notifications set to your phone because I think that's a big start-sit question of the week right now. Is Mike Evans playing or not? I didn't really know that he was dealing with the hamstring injury, honestly.
It was very recent. I think it just came out a few hours ago. So, it's concerning to me that they're already saying he's going to be a game time decision, and it's a hamstring injury, which was the big injury for him to end last season. So, I mean, like he's a great player, and if he's healthy, you want him out on the field. But it's week 1. I just feel like they shouldn't rush it. Like yes, it's a big matchup against New Orleans, but he's your top wide receiver, so don't try and rush him into a situation that he's not ready for.
Yeah, definitely.
And then never mind. Moving on, Brandon Cooks, final injury, dealing with a quad injury, questionable for week 1 against Kansas City, which is tomorrow night. I'll let you talk first because my stance on Brandon Cooks and how this hurts me. So,
the first thing that I would say is if you're in the betting perspective side of things, I would smash that Will Fuller over 60.5 receiving yard prop because I felt like that was a very low prop. I actually nailed that earlier as soon as I got this news because I feel like money's going to be pouring in on game time by the time we find out if Cooks is playing or not. One thing I do like about the NFL is that the injury reports kind of come out like an hour and a half before the game start. So we're definitely going to know if Brandon Cooks is playing or not. But one thing that's going to concern me about Brandon Cooks, I feel like if you're playing in a showdown slate, would be just him getting the full amount of snaps that you really want to see him get. But I could definitely see a flex spot start in deep dynasty leagues for Randall Cobb if you need him to start for you.
I was thinking more along the lines of Kenny Stills, kind of playing that Brandon Cooks role. Yeah, he wasn't necessarily successful in it last year, but I think last year Will Fuller was even hurt. So it was kind of just Kenny Stills.
The Kiki QT role is going to be played by Randall Cobb this year. And if you look at Randall Cobb's stats last year, being the third slot receiver for the Cowboys last year, he fared pretty well, and I expect his target market share to go up going over to the Texans rather than playing for Dallas. So I definitely do like Randall Cobb in this spot.
I don't disagree with you. I believe that Cobb will be solid, but obviously Will Fuller would be like the one to go after.
Oh, yeah, no, Will, I told you straight from the jump, Will Fuller, I'm hopping all over that 60.5 receiving yard prop. That is way too low.
That is way too low. But for me personally, if Cooks was out, the second receiver I would be targeting is Stills because I feel like Stills would have the upside that I don't believe that Randall Cobb has. You would kind of have to... Yeah, Kenny Stills is a guy who I think can actually average like over 15 yards to catch, whereas Cobb is probably going to be around that 10 range, So anyway, we're going to move on here. That's the end of our injury news notes. We're just going to talk about week 1 a little bit. There's some guys we kind of want to point out. There's some tips that we want to give. So, Billy, I'm going to hand it off to you because you are the DFS guy. You are the one who knows a lot more what you're talking about. I'm in an effort to learn, but a lot of that information comes from you. So, they'd rather learn from the teacher than the student, right? So, go ahead.
The first game that we have is the Thursday night football game, Houston versus Kansas City. Kansas City's 9.5-point favorites. The over-under is 54.5. Last year's teams that were favored by 7 points with the over-under 50 points only went 1-6 against the spread, and the one was being Kansas City week 2 against the Raiders. The one thing that really concerns me about the Texans right now is the Brandon Cooks injury, like we're talking about in the news and notes section. But I think, like I said earlier, slamming that Will Fuller receiving prop is a really good option. I'll probably be playing him a lot in the captain spot just because of the familiarity with him and Deshaun Watson. And then overall for the spread, I would stay away from this betting wise, but if I had to pick a side, gun to my head, I would probably say Houston in the points because this is a playoff revenge spot from last year. And I feel like that game was really competitive last year. Remember when Kansas City came back from being down by a lot? And I think
24.
Kansas City wins the game, but I feel like the Texans can get a backdoor cover here.
Yeah. If you remember, or if you noticed, when Kansas City got their Super Bowl rings about a week ago, they engraved into it that they came back from a 24-point deficit on the Texans. So that is something that kind of could loom heavy in their minds as they head on to into this matchup. I agree with you though. Like I didn't check the props or anything heading into this, but 60 yards for Will Fuller. I mean, whether Brandon Cooks is out or not, I would definitely take that. So that's a very good piece of information to point out. And again, if you want to check out Billy's full breakdown for DFS, the Thursday night matchup, go check out Pub Sports Radio, their YouTube channel. That's where you can find it. And like I said, go win some money.
The second game that we have here, thank you, Rob, is Cleveland versus Baltimore. Baltimore's 8.5-point favorites, and the over/under is 48.5. The Ravens, they were a really good team last year, but very efficient. I expect this team to regress a lot, but be better for fantasy option-wise because I feel like Marquise Brown is in a pretty decent spot here. He'll be one of the guys that I talk about in the video. In the divisional game, though, I really don't want to lay the chalk on the Ravens, but I might have to. They went 14-2 last season, and their only losses were the Chiefs and the Browns. So the Browns definitely have the capabilities to beat them as they did last year because it's just a divisional football game. I would urge people to stay away from that 8.5 number, putting that in parlays and stuff like that. But I do like the money line of the Ravens. I definitely see them win this first game of the season because Harbaugh ultimately gets this team ready and pumped up for the beginning of the season. And I just feel like this team is going to be a little bit too much for the Browns. But the Browns, I feel like, are being slept on because they're going to try to play this game one way or another. But I feel like ultimately, though, it's just going to have to be Baker just kind of airing this one out to even get the backdoor cover here. Yeah.
Really quick, not related to betting or DFS or anything, but this is a piece of news that we didn't cover that I just remembered that we didn't have inside. Kareem Hunt was extended and given a 2-year extension. So beyond this season, he will still be a Brown for the next 2 seasons. So what are your thoughts on that and the kind of thought process for Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt and how they eat into each other? As Detroit Beastie is here commenting, Billy has upped his background game. Yeah, he's actually in LA right now, chilling in a loft. He's in a living room, yet his hair is blowing in the wind. I mean, I'm not sure how that works. But
got the fan on, man. Got the fan on in the living room. It's a little bit hot. You couldn't tell with the hoodie on.
That's the Holy Family hoodie over there.
Yeah, man.
Representing.
Family, though.
Thank you for your comments, Chris, and anyone else. You can head over to YouTube or Twitter and comment there as well. And we are very interactive here. So if you have any start-sit questions that you want to ask us, we're willing to help and we're here. You can, just drop the little comment there on YouTube and we'll definitely help you out. Back to the point originally, though, real quick. Kareem Hunt signed his extension. What are your thoughts, at least dynasty-wise? Because we knew he was going to be a Brown this season.
Dynasty-wise, it just kind of knocks down Nick Chubb just a little bit for me because one of the things that really makes a running back finish in the top 5 for fantasy points is just having a receiving floor, and this kind of makes his receiving floor a little bit murky. But I like this as a real-life signing. The Browns are getting better. So I can't blame the Browns, and that's the reason why I kind of want to take the Browns on the points here. But might look at the Ravens money line, but I'm probably going to stay away from that game.
I definitely understand that. If I were to take anything, you mentioned Hollywood Brown. I believe Greedy Williams is hurt and out for this game. He's their second cornerback, and as we know, Grant Delpit, their rookie safety, who was supposed to be their starter, recently tore his Achilles. They picked someone, I forget who it was, off of wherever, free agent, out of free agency or waivers or whatever, but it was not to the level of what Grant Delpit probably would have been for Cleveland. So their secondary is a little weakened right now. So Hollywood Brown could definitely take advantage. Any other matchups you would kind of want to point out real quick?
You would just want me to get into the next game because that's kind of all I really have for that game.
Yeah, definitely.
The next game is the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Washington Redskins. The Eagles are 6-point favorites with the over-under being 43 points. In Haskins' last 7 starts, the over has hit in 4 of those games. The Eagles' offensive line is very banged up. They have a lot of different pieces moving around on the offensive line. And the Redskins' defensive pressure was pretty good last season. That actually shocked me when I was looking into that. To be honest with you, I don't know how I feel about the Eagles 6-point favorites here, but I definitely do feel like we do beat the Redskins by a touchdown. But the fantasy implications in this game is very high because I feel like you want to start players on both sides of the ball in this game because a lot of the Redskin options are very cheap for daily fantasy and deeper dynasty leagues. Like I would definitely give Steven Sims a flex spot if I had to like a 4 flex type of dynasty league or something like that. And I think if you draft Antonio Gibson, you should definitely play Antonio Gibson. And then if you have Haskins, man, that might be worth a start in a 2 QB league if one of your quarterbacks is like Tua or something like that, and you're looking for a starting quarterback week 1.
Yeah, Philly, their cornerback group. So they cut Rasul Douglas, they cut Sidney Jones, very quickly moved on and came back to Cravon LeBlanc. But like they have Darius Slay and who else? I mean, like it's kind of no man's land there in Philly for corners. So Terry McLaurin will see Darius Slay, and we'll just kind of have to see if Terry McLaurin can still get open. But I mean, like you said, Steven Sims could have upside in this one because that slot role could pay dividends for Haskins, and he's not going to have tough opposition on the other side. I wouldn't go Dontrell Inman route though. Anyway, do you know off the top of your head prop bet for the Redskins sack totals?
No, those don't usually come out until like Friday, Saturday.
Whatever it is, I'm likely to hit the over because Chase Young, like you said, added to this team with a great sack rate last year. So that's pretty. I think the Redskins defense as a whole, like I said, their cornerback core is not really anything to enjoy, but their defensive line is very deep and they have great pass rushers. So there's a lot to like there. That was the recipe for success for the 49ers in their jump last year. So while I don't think the Redskins make that kind of jump, they still have potential to outperform where a lot of people are ranking them right now. All right, let's head in to our final main segment here, which is going to be some players that we like for the upcoming weekend for fantasy purposes. Bill, you've done a lot of talking, so I'm going to lead it off here with James White, running back for the New England Patriots. Basically what I'm saying here is if you have James White, I'm going to start James White because he's not the only man in town. but he's essentially the only man in town. Damian Harris will not play in this one. He was placed on IR with a hand injury. Sony Michel is, I don't know with Sony Michel. I mean, he's going to probably be active, but he's not going to be 100%. And James White is likely to see a decent workload. And then you have Rex Burkhead, who will probably find his way in on certain downs, but James White's role is solidified. And then factor in the fact that New England has very few options at pass catcher. You have N'Keal Harry, you have Julian Edelman, and then who else really behind them? And N'Keal Harry is someone who has not even established himself to this point. So of established guys, you have Julian Edelman, and that's it. So James White, I believe, is going to be relied on in this matchup, in a great matchup on his end against the Miami Dolphins. I'm not sure if you can really craft an argument, Bill, against James White this week. I know you're a fan of his quarterback.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if for fantasy, I guess for PPR leagues, I can see why you would start James White. But game script wise, I don't know if I really want to play James White too much. The New England Patriots are 6.5-point favorites, and the over-unders at 43. So I feel like Vegas is kind of telling us that they're just going to run like a slow, sloppy game. And I feel like a guy like Rex Burkhead and like Sony Michel would be more inclined to have a better game on the ground, because I really want to attack James White in spots that I feel like the Patriots are going to have to catch up in. And I don't know if the connection between him and Cam Newton is really going to be there from the day one. And that's where I feel like James White really gets a lot of his fantasy points is from the receiving game. But I wouldn't be rushing to start James White, but I wouldn't be rushing to sit him either. I feel like, however, though, this matchup could be just a little bit of a fool's gold matchup for James White.
Well, obviously, you don't feel that way for the entire New England offense.
Cam Newton is definitely one of my favorite players for this upcoming week. That's the reason why I kind of didn't really like James White too much. Give me a second. I got kidding.
Real quick, the New England Patriots are going up against the Miami Dolphins. I kind of highlighted the wide receiver core, the running back core, what they're looking like to this point.
My fault. My girlfriend's alarm went off. But Cam Newton, I definitely like him for this upcoming weekend. He's a man on a mission. I definitely feel like the Dolphins are not going to have anything for Cam Newton. And this is definitely a weird spot for the Patriots to be in, because a lot of their defensive players are opted out for the season. So I feel like this is definitely a type of game script that I really want to play Cam Newton in.
Yeah, I mean, I can see your argument. Like, he kind of will be forced into a role where he's going to have to make things happen. And as we've seen before, healthy Cam can do that. And healthy Cam is hopefully what we're going to get this season. And he is, I believe if he's healthy, he's going to be great, because he's going to be out to prove, like, Carolina did him dirty and screwed him in a sense, because he should not have been cut. He was their franchise guy. So I could definitely see Cam Newton having a great week. My next player is from the same division, but another, like Cam Newton, another new arrival. And it's going to be Stephon Diggs, wide receiver for the Buffalo Bills, that I really want to highlight here. Going up against New York, the Jets. The Jets are not a terrible defense, but they've had two pretty decent offseason moves work against their defense. Number one, C.J. Mosley opting out. He was a very important defensive piece. And then number two, they traded away Jamal Adams. So this, I think long term, it's a good move for New York to trade Jamal Adams because they received two first round picks for him. But in the short term, this year specifically, I think their cornerback group is going to be a group that you can target with fantasy wide receivers. And now you have Stephon Diggs, who is going to be in his first game with Josh Allen, a guy who loves to go deep. Stephon Diggs is great in the deep receiving game, going up against a very beatable cornerback group. As the clear number one wide receiver, I see a lot of upside for Stephon Diggs in this one. I'm not really going to predict an exact stat line, but remember what Stephon Diggs did as the number one wide receiver to the Philadelphia Eagles last season. I could see a similar performance as his sort of ceiling for this matchup. And I know Josh Allen would love to supply that. What are your thoughts on maybe not the Bills' offense as a whole. I'm not necessarily in on the running backs. I think John Brown is kind of just here and there. But I'm really in on Stephon Diggs for this week. I believe if you have him, you should be starting him. What are your thoughts on that, Bill?
I think that we might run ourselves into a first bet on the podcast. I would like to bet you that Jamison Crowder has more receptions than Stephon Diggs this weekend. Would you?
I'm not going to make that bet because we all know what Jamison Crowder is going to be. He's going to end the season with over 100 receptions.
All right. Well,
and he's going to have 800 yards.
Would you give me 3 points? And I bet Jamison Crowder has a better fantasy week than Stephon Diggs.
3 points? Where are points?
Fantasy points.
Do I believe Stephon Diggs would outperform Jamison Crowder in PPR leagues? Yeah, I'll make that bet.
All right, first podcast bet. You heard it here. Stephon Diggs versus Jamison Crowder in the same exact game.
That is such an ugly bet. And Stephon Diggs on one side, okay, versus Jamison Crowder, that's so ugly. But I'm willing to make it because I'm not scared. I really believe in Stephon Diggs this week. So I know you believe in Jamison Crowder, so I'm willing to let that slide. My point would be though, Buffalo's defense versus the Jets defense. If I had to put them on a scale, Buffalo, the Jets, all the way down here. So I'll take that. I'll take that in my favor. Do you want to head on into the tight end that you want to highlight here, specifically the Falcons tight end, if you can see my shirt?
Yeah, one of my favorite game stacks for this upcoming weekend, I'm not going to shock anybody, will be the Seahawks and Falcons. And I have highlighted here Hayden Hurst. A lot of people are going to, I feel like, be a little bit questionable to start Hayden Hurst in daily fantasy, and also maybe if you're in your shorter type of leagues like 10-man leagues and stuff like that. But I feel like Hayden Hurst is going to have a really good week this week. This is one of the highest over-under totals of the week. And Seattle tight end defense last year was absolutely dreadful. And I feel like the flow chart kind of continues here. And I feel like just this game in general just screams a lot of different fantasy points.
Yeah, one thing I would like to highlight as far as Seattle being terrible against tight ends last season is they did not have Jamal Adams last season. However, I'd kind of address this in my matchup breakdown article. I don't think that is going to weigh in heavily on Hayden Hurst for this game because Jamal Adams is going to have to be busy covering or helping cover Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley because they are also big-time threats on the outside, and they will need double covering sometimes. So Jamal Adams will kind of be everywhere, so that means a lot of times he won't be on Hayden Hurst. So yeah, I think Hayden Hurst is a good guy to kind of bet on in week one. He has a great matchup, and we'll just have to see if Atlanta tries to show that, hey, we were right to let Austin Hooper walk and receive the richest contract a tight end has ever received because we just got this man for nothing compared to that. And then I wanted to highlight one more player really quick. Tyrod Taylor. I couldn't go without speaking about him. He is the clear-cut starter for the Los Angeles Chargers going up against the Cincinnati Bengals. I think if you have to stream or if you choose to stream, Tyrod Taylor is a great option because I think his floor is going to be around 15 points. And you are sometimes looking for the upside, but I feel like the upside was most likely drafted before Tyrod Taylor. In this, if you're looking for a floor play, if you're looking for a quarterback who most certainly will not hurt you and will almost assuredly, in my opinion, finish as a top 12 quarterback somehow, some way, I think Tyrod Taylor in a great matchup with great weapons on his hands, I think he's a great play. What are your thoughts on TT in week 1?
I like him week 1. I don't know if I'm playing him anywhere. I kind of really like the combination of Austin Eckler, but I feel like I'll have one of Austin Eckler or Keenan Allen in all my FanDuel lineups this week.
Yeah, both of them are set to have a strong performance. All right, and we are going to close out this episode with a final breakdown here. As I alluded to earlier, we are going to make survivor picks live on the show. And real quick, I'll break it down once more. So we are going to pick a team to win this week. It's going to start with Billy, then heading to me. A team to win this week. And then whoever, like, if the team that Billy picks wins, he gets a point. If the team I pick wins, I get a point. And then we can't make repeat picks. So if Billy picks the Patriots this week, neither me nor Billy can ever pick the Patriots again. And we're going to go through week 16, and whoever loses will I don't know, we'll have to figure out the punishment, but it'll be something that one of us will have to endure. So Billy, you drew the short stick here, so you will be picking first on odd weeks, and I will be picking first on even weeks. It probably doesn't make a huge difference, but the floor is yours. Anyone that you think will certainly win this week?
You kind of took the words right out of my mouth. I'm picking the Patriots this week. That's the first leg of my 3-leg parlay for this weekend. To see the rest of my parlay, you can follow me on Twitter at Getting Bills. I'll be posting that closer to the weekend. But the Patriots are definitely the first leg of my parlay for this weekend.
Yeah, and the thing for me, or I'm sorry, as far as your page, like, Billy is not ever going to be like, yeah, I made so much money this past weekend, I did this and this, and be like lying or anything. It's all things that he's making public. So because of that, technically it costs you something to earn this money that he's giving you. And it's a follow. So it's really not that much. So if I were you, I would definitely go follow Billy on Twitter. Go keep up with the bets that he's making. For me, week 1, this is an interesting one. There's so many matchups that could kind of go either way here. Like Baltimore is a good example where Baltimore could very easily lose to Cleveland in week 1. It would be kind of chaotic if that were to happen, but we saw it last year, and Lamar was in the middle of an MVP run, and it just kind of happened at home. So I think I'm going to take the chalk pick here, and I'm going to go with the Indianapolis Colts. They're going up against Jacksonville Jaguars this week, and that's all I need to hear. is that they're going up against the Jaguars, the worst team in football. So, Billy, you have the New England Patriots going up against the Miami Dolphins. I have the Indianapolis Colts going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Billy, you want to close us out here with wherever people can find you, not only on Twitter, but all the other great videos you're making?
Yeah, man, you can head over to Pub Sports Radio over on YouTube, and you can find all different great type of betting content stuff. Not only me, but the whole entire crew that they have over there. But you can find my stuff over there as well for fantasy football and stuff like that for DraftKings and FanDuel. My videos will be dropping Friday and Thursday. I kind of said that backwards. And then Saturday, we have the MMA stream for the Angela Hill and Karate Hottie card. And make sure you follow me over on Twitter at Getting Bills. I'm always posting my plays and stuff like that. And let's get this money, man.
Yeah, definitely. It's that time of year. You said you were taking the Chiefs tomorrow, and I think they're, 12-point favorites essentially, so it's kind of hard not to take the Chiefs in that matchup tomorrow. But
no, I said I was taking the Houston Points.
Are you? Interesting. It's a Super Bowl champion. Everyone's going to be, picking them to repeat. It happens every year, even though it never happens. So, it's going to be an exciting game tomorrow night. I'm so excited to actually have football back. I never missed the preseason more. And I'm just so happy that we get to enjoy this. Follow me on Twitter at FantasyForceFB. Follow the show at Dynasty Force Pod. You'll always see when we go live if you turn our notifications on. Check us out on YouTube, Dynasty Force Podcast. Subscribe, like, comment. If you comment, we'll definitely comment back. Let you know whatever, if you have start-sit questions or anything of that nature, let us know. You can even email us, dynastyforcepod@gmail.com. And we're very responsive and very, accepting of critique. So if you think we could do something better, just come on, let us know. And we'll gladly at least listen. So, Bill, how should you be punished next week when Stephon Diggs outscores Jameson Crowder?
I don't know. We'll think of something.
And we'll let you know, or we'll do it live on the pod. Either way, we'll have to see how it works out. For now, though, we hope you enjoy this weekend and tomorrow of beautiful NFL football, something we have missed for a very long time. And just enjoy it and come back next week as we continue to make fantasy great again here at the Dynasty Force Podcast. Thanks again for joining. Enjoy your night. Enjoy your week.